Hey folks, welcome to another Cultural Breakdown. This time we're going back to the Olympics, talking about a boxing controversy. My original plan was to launch a new Bible study series called Thursdays Through the Text. It's not quite ready yet, and this news story has been so prevalent, so prominent all over social media all day. It's been the top trending topics on X Twitter. It's been my entire Facebook feed has been commenting on this story, and so I shelved the Bible study video. Lord willing, that'll launch next week. As always, all the audio of these and all my articles go up on the Church Reset podcast feed, and then, as you see there, the URL on screen, jackwilkie.co. You'll get all the articles, audio, video, everything that's going up there. And, of course, here on the Focus Press YouTube channel. If you're watching it here, please be sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment. All that algorithm help goes a long way. I wanted to talk about this news story about the Olympics, about the way it broke initially, and there was the kind of the horrifying video of a very masculine-looking supposed woman beating up another woman in Olympic boxing. The fight lasted less than a minute, with the one forfeiting to the other, and immediately the backlash started online of this is a man beating up a woman, and a biological male, and all the terminology, and so in the hours since, a lot has unfolded, previous controversies with this particular boxer, and everyone trying to really parse out what's going on here. The one thing we can say for sure is that the footage was horrifying. These things have happened before. This has been happening for a number of years, of women just being bludgeoned, and yeah, it's eye-opening. I've said before, I think unfortunately, one of these things that's going to have to happen, but it is helping things get better, is people seeing this weird world we're living in and the effects of the things we're allowing to happen, and just how shocking some of it is really kind of getting attention. As I said, this has launched so much conversation online. So to briefly recap, this is not a typical transgenderism case where a man grew up a boy, matured into a teenager, and then to a man, and then decided, I want to be a woman. Now I'm a woman, I'm going to go fight women. That's not quite what we have going on here. It's not a transgenderism case. And so between this and the attempts to debunk the Last Supper thing, it's been a really big week for all the actually folks trying to come in and fact check and all that. So this is not a case of transgenderism. There's been obviously years of debate about that with Leah Thomas, the swimmer, and other trans athletes entering women's sports and dominating and all of those things. That's not quite what happened here, and so there's a little bit of a recap here. As loath as I am to go to Slate, it's had some of the information I wanted to look at here, and so I'm going to pull up the screen share where they said 2 women boxers will be allowed to compete in the Paris Olympics despite being disqualified from the 2023 World Championships for failing to meet sex testing standards, the IOC announced Monday. Again, this is something that they didn't just show up on the scene. This Imane Khelif was the one fighting today, and then Lin Yuting of Taiwan. Again, there was controversy last year. In fact, the Lin Yuting fought all the way up to a bronze medal in the 2023 championships before being disqualified. And as to what happened there, this article says that it was Khelif's elevated levels of testosterone did not meet the eligibility criteria. And again, another test, a chemical test, with Lin Yuting. Now here they're saying elevated testosterone. There was a release actually on a Russian site, which is where this was announced by the Boxing Commission or the IBA, the International Boxing Association, that it was not just the testosterone levels, but XY chromosomes. So biologically male, biologically having the chromosomal difference. And so the question is, what really is going on here? Is this boys that grew up and decided to become men? Well, there's pictures of Khelif as a little girl, growing up as a girl, and so then there's sexual developmental disorders and things like that. DSDs is the medical term. I got the acronym a little bit backward there. And so maybe that's what's going on here. It's very hard. In fact, I think there's kind of been an intentional vagueness to it all, so we don't really know what's happening. I don't believe this is Bruce Jenner becoming Caitlyn. I don't believe this is your standard case, but still, when you have the actually folks running in and trying to fact check what's going on here, my response is almost, you just want to say, no, you're right. It's totally okay for that person to be pummeled like that by somebody who's clearly visibly stronger and bigger, and come on, think through this just a minute. Something is off here. That's why it's been such a big story, is it set people's sensors off. And so the first thing is an XY chromosome. I mean, there's male chromosomes involved. Men should not be fighting women. This is ridiculous. This is, something that nature tells you, but obviously biblically, this is just a horrible thing to see. And seeing the beat down, it's the kind of footage that turns your stomach. And again, it's happened numerous times through UFC and other fighting. I don't know if UFC, but some of the cage fighting championships and things like that with people crossing over. It's very, very unnatural. And so when we look at things like this, I feel like this is becoming my job, or at least I'm taking it on more and more. It's okay for your eyes to see something and go, that's wrong. I know that's wrong. I can tell with my own two eyes this is not good. And when people come in and start telling you, well, no, it's not what you think, it's different. No, it's okay to think that it's wrong. It goes to a broader discussion, though. I think something that needs to be considered, and one of the things I see a lot of conservatives doing, in fact, the hashtag Save Women's Sports is going around. If it was a woman beating another woman that badly, if it was a woman bloodying and bruising another woman, you've had women's boxing, you've had women's cage fighting, you've had all these different things. It is incredibly unnatural. And when you read verses like in 1 Peter chapter 3 about a gentle and quiet spirit which is pleasing in the sight of the Lord, that's not what this is. I am really not in favor of women's boxing just in general, and I think that is a pretty standard conservative biblical position. You go back to Leviticus, and so many times when people have the transgenderism discussion, they point to where Leviticus says a woman shall not don man's clothes. And people run in and say, actually, that's for the military gear. They're not supposed to put on their armor. And it's like, yeah, even that, if that's what you're going to limit it to, is also saying women shouldn't dress up like men, act like men. They shouldn't go out to fight for the country like men. The same thing at night if you're married and you hear a window shatter, you hear a door open, you hear something you're not supposed to hear in the house. Husbands, I really hope you're not nudging your wife going, all right, honey, go beat him up. That's not how things should be. We know that's not how things should be. And so this kind of idea that, man, we just need to roll the clock back and get more conservative and go back to when women were beating up women. I think our grandparents, great-grandparents, you don't have to go that far back in history to go to show them some of this footage, even of women fighting women, and say, wow, this is kind of weird. This is, when did you start doing this? This is not normal. This is not exactly something that women are supposed to do. And I had some folks on Facebook saying, well, men shouldn't beat up men either. In most cases, generally, I would agree. In 1 Corinthians 9, Paul refers kind of seemingly positively towards boxing. But then you just get into the natural gender distinctions of aggression and of what men are built for and what women are built for. And you can have that debate in here. I'm not going to say, you're sinful or you're just dead wrong. But I'm making a case here, I think, that biblically it leads to, on this hashtag Save Women's Sports thing, I don't think we should be the biggest advocates of women's boxing. We certainly should not be advocates for men fighting against women. And even when it's kind of blurry like this particular case, we should be careful, we should be careful. We should look at this and say, this is bad, and this is just unnatural, and this is unsafe, and this is not protecting the dignity of women. And even if this is a biological woman who had some developmental things that raised their testosterone through the roof, all right, that is incredibly unfair and incredibly dangerous. Let's stop this. But I want you to think through. I think one of the things that we have to be careful about is not accepting the framing we've been given, but go back to a biblical framing and say, all right, what does this set the table for? What if we start over with God's framing, would we have ever gotten to this in the first place? I'm not sure that we would have. And so there's just a few thoughts for you to consider. Again, do be careful, because the fact checkers they really have a field day with things like this. And so be careful with the claims that you make, with some of the information you spread. Again, the information we had last year, and again, that site is still up, is that this was somebody with a XY chromosome test, that's male chromosomes, with elevated testosterone. Was it a biological male? Was this an intersex person? What? I really don't know. I just know that this is not something that should have happened, not something that should be allowed to happen. And we've got a lot of rethinking to do on some of the things that we've accepted. And so, again, just another brief cultural breakdown, some thoughts to run with there. As always, the audio is going up on the Church Reset podcast feed. Check that out. and that and articles and everything else coming out. We're doing a lot of work over at Focus Press, so keep an eye on us there and there at jackwilkie.co. In fact, I have an article going out in conjunction with this video on a different topic, but they're going out about the same time. So be sure you're subscribed. Again, like or comment on the video to help us out here on YouTube, whichever one I'm on here. And I'll talk to you guys next week.